Well, good afternoon and thanks for joining us here on News Midday Live. My name is Asiedu-Dartey. You can also join us on our various social media platforms on Facebook and on Twitter. Let's look at our headlines this hour. 5 major U.S. companies withhold their investments to Ghana over corruption concerns. We'll hear from the U.S. ambassador to Ghana. On a rather sad note, victim of Tuesday Alhaji shooting incident, Richard Agyapong, passes on. Also coming up, Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations to sue public organizations for their failure to comply with the country's Disability Act. And in sports, local Black Stars of Ghana arrive in Burkina Faso capital Ouagadougou ahead of the turn qualifier with the local Stallions. And on the international front, head of Commonwealth Observer Mission to Kenya, former President John Mahama says he has not been given any reason to doubt the credibility of the results of Kenya's presidential and parliamentary elections. These and more coming up in the next 1 hour. Now to our very first story, and the Controller and Accountant General's Department was unable to account for total proceeds of 10% salary cuts of the appointees of former President John Mahama for 2015. Appearing before the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, Deputy Controller Kwesi Owusu disclosed government through the office. The Chief of Staff requested the amounts accrued in 2014.
It was the turn of the Finance Ministry and the Controller and Accountant General on the third day of the sitting of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. In the Auditor General's 2015 performance report on the Finance Ministry and Controller and Accountant General, it was revealed that an amount of 896,467 accrued from the 10% salary cut of government appointees in 2014. However, in 2015, the Controller could not account for the proceeds. When asked what accounted for it, the Deputy Controller and Accountant General Kwesi Owusu disclosed that a letter from the Chief of Staff asked for the transfer of the money to government.
We were holding the money in trust. Subsequently, they decided that we should bring the money to them. So as and when we deduct from the payroll, it goes directly to the owner of the money. And that's why in 2015 we didn't see anything at all.
But the Controller and Accountant General Eugene Ofosuhene explained that it was a voluntary deduction, hence the owners could ask for it anytime. Thus, the Deputy Finance Minister Abena Osei-Asare says it is prudent for government to come clear on it.
Since it had a purpose, it's only fair that we find out what exactly, whether they actually used the money for the exact thing that they said they were collecting the money for.
Former President Mahama and Vice President Kwesi Arthur, as well as all ministers of state under his administration, voluntarily took a 10% pay cut beginning 2014. The voluntary austerity move was announced by the Mahama administration in the 2014 State of the Nation address to help construct CHIPS compound for some communities across the country.
And on a rather sad note, the victim in the Tuesday Alhaji shooting incident, Richard Agyapong, has passed on after hours battling for his life at the intensive care unit of the Ridge Hospital. The sad event occurred Wednesday evening at TV3 has learned.
The deceased, Richard Agyapong, was shot at close range by the suspect, Charles Nana Frimpong, during a scuffle at a garage at Alajo. The suspect, Charles, pulled a foreign pistol after the mechanics have helped to separate him and the trotro driver and fired a warning shot. The second attempt went straight into the lower abdomen of the deceased, Richard Agyapong, rupturing his intestine and kidney.
Eba say no, ade o ye na nye. Nti wonye dey. Onya tuo ne to. Nti tuo no wo so ne nsa no, na obi gina kai ye isi wono mo no. Na obi gina na tuo no bullet ne kan nipa no. Nti tuo no kan no na afi akoy bi ti say ya ye wa ha no. Eni bre kakra ye dey abam. Nti ye ko no so. E ma ono so hu say dey ade na say happen no. Say wan kwan ko sheka no mu anase odwane a. Ebi amanfo be di na cha ye dey ekunu.
Doctors at the Accra Regional Hospital managed to operate on him.
It's in the hands of the intensive care doctors, but his condition is delicate. For the chances of survival, we can't categorically say. As I said, his condition is critical, and we are doing our best to save him.
However, Richard failed to survive after hours on life support. Suspect Charles Nana was remanded into police custody by an Abeka Magistrate Court to reappear on Monday, August 14.
In a related development, state security agencies have been asked to use new technology to help retrieve unregistered arms in civilian hands. Reacting to the killing of a mechanic at Alajo in Accra, a security and safety expert, Adam Bonai, says it is time for the use of radical approach in dealing with illicit arms in public hands.
For instance, you come to East Legon with the sniffer dogs. Release them, they come into your home, they have a warrant, and people are told that you need to bring your gun or else we'll be coming around and we'll find it. And also the use of technology. There are systems that will tell you there is some ballistic element or bullet or something hiding somewhere for us to get it. And so I think when you try to negotiate to get issues resolved and it's not working, you need to use a more radicalized way of doing it. Because I'm telling you that the day those who have these arms, whether registered or unregistered, decide to turn the guns against the vulnerable people of this country, our security agencies would find it very difficult to bring this issue under control. And so if you ask me, I would say we have a ticking time bomb, which if we are not careful, is going to consume all of us.
Still on security and safety issues, the Inspector General of Police, David Asante P2, has tasked personnel in the Public Affairs Department to develop innovative ways to get the public understand and appreciate the service. He threw the challenge at the opening of a capacity building workshop here in Accra.
Participants were drawn across all the 11 policing regions. In the estimation of the IGP, recent unprovoked attacks and killing of police officers are as a result of lack of knowledge of policing.
Yes, this is true. The less people know, the more they attack police officers and state property. The less people know, the more they perceive the police in the bad light. The less people know, the more they still perceive police officers as a less educated group of people.
The IGP tasked participants, whom he described as an interface, to make a difference.
If you have your information disseminated to the public, very little will be left for others to mislead the public. It is the expectation of the service that our communicators will be technologically up to date, professionally agile, and socially conscious in performing their duties. If there is one directorate that I will want to see empowered, well-resourced, and professionalized, it is the Public Affairs Directorate.
To other news now, and the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations is threatening to sue public organizations for their failure to comply with the country's Disability Act. Per the Disability Act, owners of occupiers of public buildings are required to make their buildings accessible to and available for use by persons with disability. Parliament in August 2006 passed the PWD Act to ensure the protection and promotion of the rights of persons with disabilities. Section 60 of the Act enjoins stakeholders to make public places disability-friendly, but that there appears to be little or no efforts towards that regard. 11 years on, a moratorium given to owners of public buildings to make their buildings disability-friendly expired in August 11, 2016, but most buildings remain unfriendly towards persons living with disabilities. Also joining me in the studio is Joshua Mokuba, and he is the National Advocacy Officer of the National Federation of Disability. He's here to talk to us more about this intended lawsuit. So is the Federation bent on carrying out this particular issue?
Yeah, thank you very much, and I just want to say good afternoon to your viewers. The Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations, as you are aware, is into advocating the right of persons with disability.
Exactly.
And the Act is one of the tools that we will use to help us with the advocacy. But unfortunately, things are not working. You look at the Act and then the UN Convention on the Right of Persons with Disability, which we have signed on to and have ratified, but nothing is being done. No steps apparently are taken to make things accessible to us. So since it is our right and it is stated clearly in the laws of the country, I think the only way to get that issue redressed is to go to court, and we are bent on doing that.
It's been 11 years now. Has it been long overdue? You know, over the period, the association has tried to embark on a series of strikes, but it never came on.
Yeah, we have tried, and we're thinking that maybe authorities were listening to. Something pathetic happened last week when I was at the Flagstaff House.
Okay, you can share with us.
Yeah, with my situation, I was able to get to the 3rd floor. I was there when I heard that some of my colleagues had come to see somebody at the Flagstaff House. Apparently, Elvis and Adakwa, they were in a wheelchair, and there was no way they could come there. So the arrangements were being made for the officer they had come to see to go down and see them. But the following day, when I got to the Federation, I went to ask them. They told me that the officer was not able to come and see them. He rather sent some people to come and talk to them. And I felt it, because this is a public officer. He's been paid from the public purse. We pay taxes just like any other person. But you are denied access to the person, not because he has other shadows, but just because the environment is not accessible for you to go and see that person. And this is happening at no any other place than the Flagstaff House. So you can imagine what other people will be doing.
You said Parliament House.
The Flagstaff House, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not the Parliament House. And Parliament House has its own problem. It's not accessible. If you are going to the Parliament House and you are in a wheelchair, it becomes difficult for you to get there.
Well, so did the Federation work with government in achieving this after the Act was passed?
Yeah, actually, we have worked with government and we've had a series of consultations. I think about 3 weeks ago, we were at the office of the President himself. We had an interaction with him. And then in his speech, what he said was that, yeah, there's no way somebody should be denied access to a public place because of his or her disability. He, however, assured us that immediately any new structure that is going to be put up will have to be disability friendly, or else it is not put up. But then the old structures will also be worked on, but that will take a little bit of time. So we are saying that fine, we are not saying that all buildings by magic will be made accessible today, but at least some effort should start. And then we know where to go. And as we are saying, again, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, that is the modern Ministry of Persons with Disability. Yes. It's also not accessible. The last time we were there, as part of our engagement, and the Minister, Honorable Otiko Diaba, even showed to us a plan that, a design that was being made, so that when it is finished, they will use it to remodel the place to make it accessible.
Well, so would you say that there has been little pressure on governments and by stakeholders to get such public facilities, you know, be disability friendly? I don't know if the association has really gone around to look at specific places that you access mostly, that you find it difficult in doing so.
Yeah, we have gone on accessibility tours in this country. and then we visited so many places. And we've been using diplomatic approaches to get government. You know, in Ghana, when you are putting pressure on government, it is easy for you to be tagged as what? Anti-government. Okay. Anti-government. And you know, the moratorium elapsed in an election year. So whatever you'll be doing outside by way of pressure, people would think that you are being used by another political party to make the government of the day unpopular, especially when we're heading for elections. But we've used diplomatic approaches to talk to heads of various institutions, those who are really in charge of things there. But it's like that has not yielded. That is why this time around, thank God, we have just come out of elections. There's no any election in the unless maybe 2020. Exactly. And this time we are ready to go all out. And then we are also appealing to the court. When we come there, they should not see it as if we are just being nuisance. I think we have a case in court, the N1 highway. Okay. It's not disability friendly. So that there was an overpass. And that one was not. So you look at the N1 highway. If
How soon do you intend taking up this action?
I think the N1 highway is already in court.
No, I mean
this particular action. I think when we had the deliberations, we agreed that okay, we want somebody to actually come out to give us a roadmap as to what they want to do. But if that is not done within the next 2 months, I think we have no other alternative than to take up the action, the challenge, to see what the law court will also tell us. Thank
you very much. I have been speaking with Joshua Mokuba, National Advocacy Officer, National Federation of Disability. I think this issue will do more some other time. But right now, though, let's move on to other stories. And Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Chairman of the Hajj Board, Sheikh I.C. Koi, the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Shaributu, have arrived in Tamale to witness the first takeoff of the 2017 Hajj pilgrimage. A total of 6,200 pilgrims are expected to take part in the 2017 Hajj, whilst 5 flights are scheduled to take off from the Tamale airport. Zubaida Ismail is at the village in Tamale and joins us live. Hello, good afternoon, Zubaida. Thanks for your time. So, what more can you report? Well, Zubaida, if you can hear me, what more can you tell us? Well, so the Vice President, we are told, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Chairman of the Hajj Board, I.C. Koi, Sheikh I.C. Koi, the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Shaributu, have arrived in Tamale to witness the first takeoff of the 2017 Hajj pilgrimage. A total of 6,200 pilgrims are expected to take part in this year's Hajj, whilst 5 flights are scheduled to take off from the Tamale airport. And we have Zubaida Ismail. She is our Northern Regional Correspondent there at the village to get us more on this particular one. Well, so we're trying to get Zubaida to give us an update on that. But before that, let's look at some medical issues. Today on Medical Note, although several evidence-based guidelines for managing infertility are available, few, if any, focus on the psychosocial aspects of this challenging conditions. Well, before we go to medical notes, let's hear from Northern Regional Correspondent Zubaida Ismail, who is at the Hajj village here there in Tamale, to give us an update of what is happening. Hello, good afternoon, Zubaida.
Good afternoon, AC.
Well, so what more can you tell us? When will the flights, first flights take off?
Not yet. The flight, we are told, is expected to land here in Tamale at exactly 12. We are currently at the Deba, so we've not been told either whether it has landed, but then it is expected to land at 12 and take off at 5 p.m. And so that is what I can say about the flight. But then,
well, Zubaida, it is 12:20. It's past 12 now.
Yes, it is past 12, but like I said, we are together with the Vice President and the pilgrims are at the Hajj village. Okay. And then the flight is supposed to land at the airport. We have not gone there yet, and they have not told us whether it has landed yet, but it's expected to land at 12 and take off at 5 p.m.
Well, so over 6,200 pilgrims expected to take off in the 2017 Hajj. How many will take off from the Tamale airport today?
A total of 3,065 are expected to take off from Tamale. Today, we are expecting 506 pilgrims to take off from Tamale.
Well, so what is the general mood there like?
It's anxiety, especially for those that are embarking on the Hajj for the first time. And of course, even for those that have gone before, the fact that there are some improvements in this year's Hajj, they really are expecting to go there. I've been speaking to some pilgrims earlier, and then they tell me that the fact that there is a new package for the 2017 Hajj, they really would want to get there and experience how it goes like. Now they are supposed to arrive at Mecca, go to Medina, go to Mina, and end at Arafah, which is 4 type of rituals. And in all these 4, the Vice President, together with the Hajj Board, have announced that they have made arrangements for vehicles to convey these pilgrims. That is a total of 6,200 from their residents to all the 5 places they are expected to perform the Hajj this year and bring them back. And of course, he also revealed that the medical team have been able to gather each pilgrim's data. So if anything happens to any one of them, they're able to trace to the data and they'll be able to tell which medical attention should be given to whoever gets affected or gets sick on the way. And so these are some of the plans that the pilgrims are expecting for this year.
Well, thanks so much. I have been speaking with Zubeida Ismail, and she reports for us from the northern region, bringing us up to speed on the 2017 Hajj pilgrimage. And so this is still Midday Live. Let's do medical notes now, where although several evidence-based guidelines for managing infertility are available, few, if any, focus on the psychosocial aspects of this challenging condition. Akosia Jason brings you up close with Dr. Florence Nab, a fertility counselor, as she delves deeper into the social management of infertility and possible prevention.
For those who are struggling to get a baby and they are not getting, their depression is 2 or 3 times more than the one who has the baby and has a depression. So there are so many causes of depression. But we are saying that infertility, especially among women, is the biggest cause of the depression. Women who are struggling or women with infertility, we have some at the psychiatric hospital. Some have gone to jail. So it's really causing a lot of havoc. And our worry is the fact that in Ghana we don't manage the psychosocial aspect. The biological aspect and the psychosocial are linked. When they have many psychosocial problems like the depression, stress, anxiety, and the rest, it compounds the biological problem. So you are giving the treatment, you are expecting them to get pregnant, but they are worried, they are depressed, and they will never get pregnant.
This is still Midday Live. We take a quick breather here, but when we come back, we'll be looking at the Controller and Accountant General's Department unable to account for a total proceeds of the 10% salary cuts of the appointees of former President John Mahama for the year 2015. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Let's get back to our earlier story where the Controller and Accountant General's Department was unable to account for total proceeds of 10% salary cuts of the appointees of former President John Mahama in 2015. We want to talk to the MP for Inshai, so Kennedy can come, and he joins us live via phone. Good afternoon, Mr. Kankame, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon, Murphy. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Good news to your cherished listeners.
Well, so should the committee be satisfied that the Controller General just gave the money to the former Chief of Staff without checking what the money was used for?
Well, thank you very much, Efe. I think the explanation the controller is giving to the committee is not quite satisfactory. And we need to probe further to find out where the money is. Because we have a lay-down procedure. You know, the 1992 Constitution takes an entrenched position on withdrawal from the consolidated fund and the various acts and regulations. So when money is paid into the consolidated fund, definitely that money must go through due process before any individual, I want to emphasize on that, any individual can withdraw the money from the consolidated fund. Let me take you to the Constitution of Ghana, and it tells us how money is paid into the consolidated. I think Article 176. If you read it, it will tell you how monies or the type of money that are supposed to be in the consolidated fund, and how monies are the public funds through. If you go to Article 178 of the 1992 Constitution, how monies can be withdrawn from the consolidated fund. So it is not who is supposed to take the money out of the consolidated fund. There must be a due process. They must follow down the laid-down procedure before you can take out the money. So it is up to the controller and the accountant general to come and tell us whether the due process was followed or not.
Well, should the controller have followed up to the project sites, at least to have asked or had asked the former chief of staff for documents on the monies received?
Well, actually, it has even popped up today. So today's sentence, the chairman requested for detail of the money, the way the money has been used. And the controller's answer was that he has not been able to gather enough document to present to Public Accounts Committee, even to just now, this morning, it has popped up again. And so far as some of us are concerned, if you look into the consolidated accounts now, or the consolidated fund now, we don't have any document that covers the way the money was drawn, how the money was used, and where the money was, and who took the money from the.
Well, finally, how would the PAC cross-check that the monies were indeed used for exactly what it was meant for?
Well,
how is PAC going to do that?
Any money is sent to or taken out of the consolidated accounts, there are documents that are supposed to be prepared. There are some signatures that are authorized to be signed before those monies are taken out of it. And also when projects are being executed by contractors or by any individual, there is a process. We have authorized officers who will give the authorization before those monies are drawn. So these are the procedures some of us are talking about. You know, we need not to allow people to just misuse the consolidated fund. From my perspective, I would say the consolidated fund is a sacred fund. Okay. Ghana has over 6,000 bank accounts. Ghana operates over 6,000 bank accounts. But the framers of the Constitution knows in their own wisdom why they made this provision in the mother, that is 1992 Constitution. Why that entrench has been taken in the 1992 Constitution. So we need not to allow some people to abuse the funds that are deposited into the consolidated funds.
Well, thanks so much for your time. I have been speaking with Member of Parliament for Ishai, so Kennedy Agyapong, who joined us via phone, and we're also trying to speak to Felix Kwachi Ofosu, former Deputy Minister of Communications. He actually agreed to speak to us, but we're trying to get him to also get his side of this particular issue. Right now, though, let's move on to other stories. And Member of Parliament for the Sanerugu constituency, Alhaji A.B.A. Fusaini, has taken a swipe at NDC members and citizen vigilante Martin Ali Misi Amidu, describing his utterances as perpetuating an NPP agenda for a position. Speaking on hot issues, the former editor of the Daily Graphic says the NDC must find a way to clip Martin Amidu.
I've already said it, that as members of the party, we are bound by rules and regulations. The party has a constitution. So if you went out there and made statements that impugn the integrity, that debase the image and integrity of the party, that brings the image and integrity of the party into disrepute. You have to answer for it. Okay. Because you are aware that irrespective of the fact that freedom of speech, you are allowed freedom of expression to express yourself in whatever manner. It is not an unlimited right. It's not an unfettered right. It is bound by certain regulations and laws. As far as you are a member of the party, you are bound by certain rules and regulations.
Would the NDC be better without Martin Amidu?
Let me say that a party will always be better with all its membership intact. But there comes a time when the membership of when especially they've shown a knack that they are cooperating with the other side. And I can say that if you see what Martin Amidu is doing now, he's more predisposed to the MPP than even the NDC, which he claims is his party.
You don't think he's still an NDC member?
He's consciously running the NDC down.
How do you prove that?
These utterances. How do you tie a whole party with a branch of corruption? He comes and says the NDC is corrupt.
Is he not right in the things he says?
He's very wrong. In fact, not only wrong, I would say he's mischievous. Because you cannot say a whole political party is corrupt. Who in the NDC have you substantiated allegations of corruption?
He said the NDC is superintendent over corruption.
So let him name those who are corrupt. And he said he calls himself a citizen vigilante.
Was your party able to fight corruption?
Let him name those people and go ahead and use his citizen vigilante status and go to court. If he's a man worth his
when you had an attorney general who could have done that.
So that the evidence.
But he's gone to court with whatever. He's gone to court with Sofoton. He's gone to court with Boyoma. He has shown that he can do that.
Those members of the NDC, he's not gone with members of the NDC that he claims are corrupt. He should do that.
He took Boyoma to court.
And stop the mischievous things that he's doing, trying to run down the party. His agenda is to run down the NDC in the hope that you will propel his MPP, his newfound love for the MPP, so that they will find some position for him. Now the craze in town is to talk very nice about the MPP so that they can find some post for you. That's what is happening.
He's become a liability to the NDC?
He's not an asset to the NDC. That one I can see for now.
Well, let's do business now, and Nana Agyapong is standing by with all the action from, I said action, well, so business,
action.
You know,
action
from the business or
and
the business centers.
I agree with you because the U.S. ambassador has been speaking, and he says doing business here in Ghana is tough.
It's an action, right?
Yeah. Okay. So exactly why he's saying that, I'll be telling you quite shortly. In business now. Right, so thanks for staying with us on Midday Live, and it's time for business. My name is Nanekia Mensah-Brampa. As I said earlier, the U.S. ambassador has been speaking and talking about Robert Peter Jackson. He says that the decision as a high level of corruption in the public sector. He's been speaking about the displeasure of corruption in the public sector. He was speaking to TV3 Business on the sidelines of a swearing-in ceremony for Peace Corps education volunteers, and he revealed 5 major U.S. companies have withheld their investment in Ghana because of corruption, and doing business here in Ghana is tough, as he describes it.
In the year and a half that I've been here, I can cite 5 specific companies who decided not to invest, primarily because of concerns about the way government procurement was being done. I have long been concerned that corruption here deters investment, and I can cite examples of American companies who've decided not to invest here in the past because of corruption. I'm hoping that the Special Prosecutor's Office will send a message that corruption will not be tolerated. And President Akufo-Addo has made very compelling statements about the importance of combating corruption. I see the Office of the Special Prosecutor as a key act that shows that he's serious about this. Combating corruption is part of creating that environment. And so I'm hopeful that a Special Prosecutor's Office and action by that office will send a key message that Ghana really is open for business, and open for business that wants to operate openly, transparently, and without facilitation fees.
Right, so exactly what will be the implications as the U.S. ambassador has spoken. We'll be picking up signs later in subsequent bulletins giving to you. But let's move on to the central bank now, as the Bank of Ghana has capped the assets and loan portfolios giving to customers and clients by microfinance operators. The bank says it took a decision after its investigations reveal that some banks aided microfinance operators to dupe customers.
In 2016, some microfinance companies at Nkranza promised clients higher returns on their investment, but failed to meet their expectation. The Bank of Ghana intervened and paid some affected clients and halted operations of 30 microfinance institutions. A year on, the BOG says it has capped the assets and loans given to customers by the microfinance operators. Head of Supervision at the Bank of Ghana, Raymond Amanfo, said the BOG took this decision after investigations showed that some banks aided in duping the customers.
What we are trying to do is to now cap the level of deposits at the level of loans that you can give because you say you are money. If you think you have gone beyond the size of macro, scale up and bring capital, and then we can allow you to do bigger tickets.
However, President of the Ghana Association of Bankers, Alhassan Dani, disagreed.
I'm happy that you have decided to cap the kind of assets that these microfinance can give. What they do, probably they will have is liquidity. So they will come, if they take money at all from the commercial banks, will be to secure it with a very liquid investment, either T-bill or some kind of asset to take cash against it. So we don't take credit risk on those microfinance organizations.
An embargo has also been placed on the registration of new microfinance institutions.
Right, so in a related development, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, says the Bank of Ghana should ensure declining policy rates is transmitted to lending rates by commercial banks in the country. He said the financial sector must play its responsible role to ensure the private sector accesses affordable credit.
We have to really think seriously about bringing interest rates down. We know that there are a lot of elements that go into the pricing of credit in this country, but there are certain things that the government will have to do, and which we are going to do, like putting in place, the national ID system that, together with the national digital address system, will be able to bring down the risk premium, because you can uniquely identify people and also uniquely identify where they live.
The Vice President was speaking at the swearing-in of the board of the Central Bank. The board's primary function is to assist the Central Bank pursue its core mandate of price stability in the context of its independence. He charged the board to maintain macroeconomic stability and to create the necessary condition to allow commercial banks to bring interest rates down.
The president, in selecting you, he's selected, I think, some of the best that we have for these positions on the board. But he also wants the bank to focus not only on price stability, but to look at our growth as well.
The board's composition includes Kennedy Agyapong, Dr. Kwame Osu-Nyantechi, Dr. Samuel Eshong, Jude Buckner, Joseph Alasan, Comfort Okran, and Dr. Maria Hagan.
Right, so if you want to know the true value of the Ghana cedi to the dollar, this is the right time. You should know that because you have more imports coming into the country, and the cedi to the other major trading currencies has seen its stability for some time now in coming days as well as months. For the cedi to the dollar this afternoon, we have it being bought at 4 Ghana cedis 37 pesos, and it's being sold also at 4 Ghana cedis 37 pesos. Talking about the cedi to the Great British Pound, well, the seeming uncertainty about the Brexit there ending somewhat, and this is what we've seen somewhere last year. We had Brexit hitting hard, affecting the gains of the cedi to that of the Great British Pound. But today it is buying at 5 Ghana cedis 68 pesos, and it's being sold also on the interbank market at 5 Ghana cedis, 69 pesos, and that of the cedi to the euro. The Eurozone has played a greater part also there in the currency, not being so stable, falling there to that of the cedi now being bought at 5 Ghana cedis, 13 pesos, and same for the selling price. We will keep our eyes on the markets and giving you more detail later in subsequent bulletins. But that will do for Midday Business. My name is Nanikia Mensah Bampa. We have sports next. Stay tuned.
Hi, good afternoon. It's time now for sports here on Midday Live. My name is Yao Fosulabi, and the local Black Stars of Ghana arrived in the Burkina Faso capital, Ouagadougou, on Wednesday evening ahead of the 2018 CHAN qualifier with the local Stallions. Ghana arrived in Burkina Faso with an 18-man squad, 9 technical staff, 3 management members, and an accountant from the sports ministry. The team is lodging at the Palace Hotel in Ouagadougou and will be looking to take on the local Stallions on Saturday. Now, Ghanaian players have been involved in the English Premier League somehow, and some of them have made a mark and others have not been able to be A-list in the most demanding league in the world. We look at the legacy left by Ghanaian players who have played in the English Premier League ahead of the start of the league this weekend. 5 Black Stars will be competing in the English Premier League next season with a chance to shine for their various clubs. Christian Achu will be one of the men to lead Newcastle United's charge. Jordan Ayew will look to relish a first full season at Swansea under a manager who believes so much in him. Andre's first season at West Ham was not what he hoped for and will look to make amends. Amate and Jeffrey Schlupp will also be looking to be involved a lot more for their respective clubs. These stars will fly the flag of Ghana in the English Premier League, but long before them, there were others. The ones who tore the stage apart and others who didn't do enough to prove they merited a place on football's high table. Tony Yeboah joined Leeds United from Eintracht Frankfurt in 1995 and featured in 66 games for the Yorkshire club, scored 32 goals and became a fan favourite. He scored several memorable goals, including this worldie against Liverpool.
Dorigo towards Wallace, back here, and there's the strike! Wonderful goal! Wonderful Yeboah! Boy, do they love him at Ellen Road. James never saw it.
Yeboah was the second Ghanaian to play in the Premier League after Ni Odantelante, who had had unsuccessful stints with Aston Villa and Coventry City. They were the only Ghanaians to have played in the English Premier League in the 90s. At the turn of the millennium, though, former Deu Youngsters player Alex Nyakon signed for Everton. He began well with a goal against Spurs, but the dark clouds had started forming. In one game against Arsenal, a fan walked up to him on the pitch to signal he wasn't fit to wear the royal blue shirt or the Toffees after a couple of poor games. He spent 4 years at the Merseyside with less than 60 games to his name. In 2005, when Michael Essien signed for Chelsea, the excitement was surreal. He had bossed it in the French League and bossed it again in the Premier League. He was so good that he was nicknamed the Bull by Chelsea fans. He played 168 matches, scoring 17 goals, won accolades with Chelsea, including several league titles, the FA Cup, the Champions League in 2013, and is credited with building the ever-strong Chelsea fan base in Ghana. So we'll bring you a part 2 of that story that will feature players like Sule Muntari, Kevin Prince Boateng, John Mensah, and Asamoah Gyan. But there could be another Ghanaian in the English Premier League because Andy Yadom is set to have a medical with newly promoted Huddersfield Town for a possible move. He will become the club's 11th signing of the hectic summer of transfers following promotion to the Premier League. Yadom will compete for a place after a stunning rise from non-league football to League 2 with Barnet before catching the eye of clubs in the second tier. Yadom, who can play on both flanks, was called up to the Ghana squad as a reward for his fine form and was part of the team that played at the Africa Cup of Nations in Gabon earlier this year. Now to some interesting news where captain of Mexico's national team, Rafael Marquez, has been sanctioned by the United States for allegedly being a front person for a drug trafficking cartel. Rafael Marquez was one of 21 people and 42 organizations singled out by the United States Treasury Department for sanctions. They are all accused of having ties with alleged drug trafficker Raul Flores Hernandez. Marquez made a statement to the Mexican Attorney General's office, but no details were released immediately. That's all the sports here on Midday Live. My name is Yao Fosulabi. There's more sports news on our website, 3news.com, and also when Thierry Nyan joins you on News 360. We'll take a break. Midday Live continues.
Well, international news comes up next.
The head of the Commonwealth Observer Mission to Kenya, former President John Mahama, says he's not been given any reason to doubt the credibility of the results of Kenya's presidential and parliamentary elections. He told the BBC in Nairobi that Kenyans should be commended for the manner in which the elections were conducted. Meanwhile, international observer groups have spoken positively about the elections, and the Independent Elections Commission had earlier dismissed an opposition claim that its computer system was hacked. The Director of Vulnerabilities of the UK's National Crime Agency, Will Kerr, has warned that ordinary people will be unwittingly coming into contact with victims every day. The BBC quotes the agency saying there are more than 300 live policing operations currently, with cases affecting every large town and city in the country. Walker said he had been shocked with what he has seen during this year's intensive efforts to break up gangs, with almost every major operation triggering even more investigation.
Now let's get to Kenya live and speak to our correspondent Emmanuel Yekon, who is there live to bring us updates from there. Good afternoon, Emmanuel, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon.
Well, so former U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has urged the opposition coalition to exercise patience, but at the same time has commended the conduct of the polls. Do you get the impression that the leadership of the Supranational Alliance are conceding defeat?
Not at the moment. They have not conceded defeat. I don't think they are going to do that anytime soon. Okay. I want to believe that they are also looking at the process of confirmation of the results as they come from the Form 34As that are being received at the National Tallying Center at Bomas of Kenya right now. And the IEBC chair has said that they are almost receiving all of them, and they have promised that the final announcement of the presidential results will be made anytime after noon tomorrow. So I want to believe that after the process of confirmation, that the results that were streaming in on the portal are the same as the ones that are on the form, then I think they will have no other reason not to concede defeat. But at the moment, they haven't.
Well, so going forward, what is the evidence on the grounds that the Trust's candidate, Uhuru Kenyatta, asked Kenyans to show for their fellow citizens, irrespective of ethnic affiliations, and that between them and the police be assured in the communities?
Pardon, I'm not getting your question.
Well, I'm saying that in going forward, what is the evidence on the grounds, that the Trust candidate, Uhuru Kenyatta, asked Kenyans to show for their fellow citizens, irrespective. So the Trust between Uhuru Kenyatta and the police, assuring the communities of non-violence.
Well, at the moment, I think the acting interior CS himself yesterday, after there were claims that there is violence, and some international media had picked stories that Kenyans were fighting each other during this time of as we wait results. But he came out to be very categorical that there is no violence, and that any case, the two cases that were there yesterday of demonstrations, you see, we have to really be clear on that, that there has been no violence. There were demonstrations. He said that they did send units to go and quell those demonstrations. But even from the final address he made the other day, because until now he has not said anything. I think he's also following on the results as they come in. But the final address he made after the campaigns were over, that was on Sunday. He said that, he made a call to all Kenyans to remain peaceful, that regardless of whoever they vote, they should remain peaceful and, coexist with other people in peace. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Emmanuel Yagon reports from Kenya, bringing us all the latest from the elections there. Let's do entertainment news now. Well, now to our very first entertainment story, and radio and TV personality Nashoko, who has been off the scene for some months now, has welcomed a baby boy, her first child. Rumors of her pregnancy sprang up early this year, but the actress refused to make any comments or even post about it, though pictures of her child is yet to be seen. Those of her pregnancy photo shoot have been circulating on social media platforms, and congratulatory messages pouring in from her colleagues and well wishes. That's all. Congratulations, Nashoko. That's all we have for you by way of news this afternoon. Thanks so much for staying with us. My name is AC Benewanyami. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. Have a great day.